How's it going, everybody? My name is Infamous Isaac, and I'm here with another video, another Spider-Man video. And today I'm going to be talking about the first movie in the duology, that is The Amazing Spider-Man. And yeah, that's the name of the movie, The Amazing Spider-Man. So I'm going to be talking about that today, since I just finished the what's it called? The Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy with Tobey Maguire. I'm gonna be talking about Andrew Garfield's rendition and whoever the director is. I don't know. I should have looked it up before I did this, but my apologies for that. But yeah, I just got done watching the movie like a couple, well, probably like 20 minutes ago, and man, let me tell you, this movie was great. Was it amazing? No, I can say that, but it was great. It was definitely great. Um, And so yeah, let me go talk about what I liked and didn't like about it. I'm a little choked up because that movie had me crying a little bit, as in like, oh man, it was something. It was definitely something. But yeah, let me try to get through this as best as I can. So let's talk about the beginning with the backstory of Spider-Man, introducing that and all that. So first, let's talk about Peter's parents. This is kind of like the only negative I have about this movie, or one of the only negatives. I don't like the inclusion of Peter's parents in this movie. They have a reason to be in the movie, but every time that they are in the movie, like as in like flashbacks and them being talked about, I don't really like it honestly. I don't really like it much. It to me, it really detracts from what's being told here, as in like Spider-Man himself. And obviously, like Peter's parents have a lot of stake in the movie because of Kurt Connors. But to me, I feel like the same story could have been told without the inclusion of their parents, or at least like as much of a presence as they have. Like if they mentioned the same thing, like, oh yeah, Peter, your dad used to work with me and all that, that would have been great. But they put a heavy focus on it, so it was crazy. But I didn't really like it much. That was like my least favorite plot point. But if I had to say anything else on that, it's just I didn't really like it too much. Did I dislike it like crazy? Nah. But if it was removed in the movie, I wouldn't mind it. But yeah, past that, the beginning, the usual Spider-Man story, Uncle Ben, Peter, Aunt May, going to high school, getting bullied and all that, so on and so forth. And I really like, well, how do I say this? In comparison to the beginning for Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, I like this one more, honestly, because, excuse me, Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man is definitely he's a good person. He's for sure a good person. We see the flaws of him in the beginning, for certain. We definitely see the flaws in him at the beginning. Ah, jeez, I'm so choked up, it's crazy. But yeah, like in Toby, we see him have flaws in the beginning and the end. But for what's it called, for Andrew Garfield, we definitely see more flaws like throughout the movie. Not just like oh, in the beginning then he becomes good and the conflict will come up until it's needed. He's definitely what's it called? He's still a high schooler. He's still a kid. He he definitely doesn't understand the like one wrong move for being Spider-Man and you will be labeled a vigilante, and that's what he was doing, Like with Spider-Man, like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, I couldn't really see him being a vigilante because people loved him, Like in the beginning, of course, people didn't like him that much, but he wasn't hurting people, or at least like after a certain point when he found um Uncle Ben's killer. But Peter, like as in Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, he he wasn't killing people whatsoever, but he was definitely hurting people. Like he was acting like a vigilante. He was not doing it for the sake to help people. He was definitely hunting people for vengeance, looking for his uncle's killer. Which I like the fact that they highlighted, honestly. I like the fact that they showed like Peter is a flawed person. He's like any regular old Joe like us. And if any of us had powers, depending on who you ask, they would go after their uncle's killer as well. But that's the difference between Spider-Man and Peter. Is that Spider-Man wouldn't do that, and Peter isn't at that Spider-Man yet. So it takes a lot of things, you know. It takes Peter abusing his powers in high school. It takes the cops coming after him. And last but not least, it takes the dinner scene with Gwen and her dad and her entire family. Like, that conversation between Gwen's dad and Peter was really good. It was so good. I have a lot of other scenes like that that I really want to talk about, but I enjoyed that one so much because it was a genuine confrontation from somebody who works in the police force about Spider-Man's being a vigilante. I don't know if vigilantism is something. I don't think that's a word. Being a vigilante, and then Spider-Man himself confronting him about it, but not like it's like two people who don't know each other at all talking about a topic that complex. Peter knows the intentions, but that isn't conveyed with the way he's doing it. And the cop as well sees that and reads it as in like this dude is a vigilante. He's borderline villain, if anything. And as far as I'm concerned, he should be off the streets. He's not keeping New York safe. And I understand that, you know. And that conversation definitely brought Peter out of it, made him look at the whole forest for the trees, and it changed him, which leads to the next scene. But I'll talk about those next scenes later. For the next topic, it's where is it? The fighting and CGI. The CGI was alright, honestly. I Kurt Connor's Lizard Man, his CGI was it was okay. I think the best when it was at its best was at the end when they were fighting on Oscorp Tower. But besides that, most of the times that they fought, I thought it was like the fighting was awesome. The fighting was super cool because it reminded me so much of like Spider-Man PS4, which I guess like that in and of itself is an influence. Maybe like the Amazing Spider-Man fighting was an influence for it because seeing himself slingshot himself, like from buildings was super cool. Like I feel like that might have been inspiration for it, but if not, then you know at least it's similar. That was really cool to me. But the fighting itself, it was awesome. I really enjoyed the fighting, like with superhero fighting, with like Peter fighting people, just normal people. I thought it was sick. The CGI though itself, I thought it was alright. Nothing crazy, nothing to brag about until the end, because the CGI at the end was awesome. But besides that, nothing crazy, you know. The fighting though, again, awesome. I loved it. And then that's done. That's done. Let's talk about the characters before I talk about the scenes. Um, let's talk about Aunt May and Uncle Ben. They definitely did not have as much of a presence as excuse me, as the Tobey Maguire ones, which also to them happened as well. But let me explain. So in the beginning, they definitely had as much a big presence, a big presence. These are Peter's parental figures. You know, so Uncle Ben being kind of brash but being honest and upfront with Peter. You know, it's like he's legit like a father. He's not educated, or at least like college educated. So he's just a normal person, and he sees Peter's mad smart. So he's just like responsibility and all that. And I thought Uncle Ben was good. I could see the intention. I can see the heart of gold that he has, but it just comes off a wrong way when anger is involved, you know, when an argument is happening. And I understand that because if you ever had a father like that, then you can definitely relate. I've seen it from friends. I know my father can do that sometimes, but I understand that he still loves me and I love him. So I can relate, and I thought it was great. Aunt May, you know, into or the mediator between Peter and Uncle Ben sometimes, but her herself when she's by herself and Uncle Ben is gone, we don't really get to see much of a reaction from her when it comes to like his death, as much as we did from Tobey Maguire. But oh, Tobey Maguire's not me, excuse me. But I definitely liked her in this one. She definitely showed her emotion for Peter, how much she cared, even if it wasn't as much screen time. Now, do I like her better than Aunt May in the first one, and Tobey Maguire's one? Mm, nah, but I definitely think she did good for her role. Who else? Who else? Who else? The high school stuff was, already the same. Like, well, not the same, but usually the same people. You have Flash, you have Gwen. MJ isn't there though, so I mean, it's different. I like it. Honestly, I like that it's different. Besides that, nobody else, just normal stand-ins and all that. Flash was interesting. He was definitely like a jock. He was not a good person compared to like the Flash that we saw in the first Spider-Man movie, who also wasn't a good person. But this guy was like off the roids. It was crazy. But yeah, Well, actually, not even. Flash in this movie was a better person. What am I talking about? Because of the move or because of the parts where Uncle Ben died and the end of the movie, Flash was becoming a better person, at least to Peter, like he showed his understanding and sympathy to Peter when he died, and he was at the end of the movie he was like, "Hey Peter, nice seeing you, you're getting gains and all that." And they're chatting it up and all that. So, I can definitely say that Flash in this movie was better, way better than the Flash in what's it called? The the original Spider-Man trilogy. Um, Kirk Connors was pretty cool, honestly. He wasn't the best villain I've seen in the Spider-Man Rose Gallery, I guess, but it was definitely interesting because he was like Otto. When you think about it, he was like Sam Raimi Otto and like Sam Raimi Kirk Connors if he was a villain and all that. It was interesting seeing his motivations and all that. I just wish we got a little more. Like, I wish instead of it being focused on Peter and his relationship with his family and how they were related to Kirk Connors, I wish it was just Kirk Connors focused, like more, more focus on Kirk Connors, learning more about him and all that. Because besides his ambition, I can't really tell you much. He's a scientist like Otto. He wants to help make the human race stronger, better by turning them into lizards, which sounds crazy, but it makes sense for what he was doing to himself. He was crazy. But I wish we got to learn a little bit more about him. I wish it was more focused on him a little bit. But for what he did, he was definitely imposing. So I can say that I enjoyed him being a villain for sure. Was he my favorite? Nope. But like this whole video of what I've been doing, comparing Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's movies, which honestly I shouldn't have done, but at the same time it's like I'm going through all of them. It's bound to happen. And it's like, alright, what did the movie do better? What did it do worse and all that? So I can make my formative opinion, like, alright, how much do I like it? But my opinion on this movie is different. It's definitely different. Not different in a sense like it's different from others, but it's different from what I first thought. But yeah. So Kirk Connor is cool. He's cool, but could have been better. Peter and Gwen. All right, let me talk about this. This is my favorite. Like two. These are my favorite two characters in the entire movie. Um, Peter and Gwen's relationship is way better than Toby's and MJ's. I love this relationship so much. I think it's so cute. I think it's so awesome. They're like the director really is emphasizing like people over the superhero. Like the people in this movie are definitely a little more fleshed out, but Peter and Gwen are examples of that. Peter and Gwen's relationship, I can't stress enough, is just so fire to me. I love it. I really, really like it. And honestly, it's my favorite part of the movie besides like Spider-Man himself. I I I enjoyed it so much watching them like meet each other, learn more about each other, grow into a friendship, grow into a relationship, seeing how much they care about each other, seeing Gwen actually help. Like that's another thing I want to talk about, but I'll talk about it in a second. Like their relationship was nice, and I can't wait to see it in the second movie because of what I remember. But yeah, Gwen herself, she helped out. Honestly, she was really a good driving force for Peter. She like with other girlfriends that Peter's had, she caused a little conflict, but not in like the same sense. where it's like, but I want Peter, not Spider-Man and all that. Like I want to have my boyfriend. It's like she understood. She for sure understood because she has an officer for her dad. So she understands like you don't know if you're gonna come home like, so I just gotta enjoy the time that you're here. I thought I was sick, honestly. She has an understanding already. Like for me, the worst you can do for a girlfriend in a superhero thing is Amber from like TV show Invincible, not the comic. But Gwen Stacy so far was definitely my favorite like girlfriend character, and honestly, any superhero movie by far. It was She was so good. She helped out a lot. She helped out in Oscorp. She helped Peter out like emotionally. She helped Peter just overall. And the conflict, if conflict were to arise, I feel like it would be natural between the two. And when it did arise, it was natural. So, I enjoyed her contributions to the movie, to Peter, and to the character herself. I think her name's Emma Stone. It's hard, man. It's hard picking between Emma Stone and Zendaya, but like, man, MJ inferior to Gwen Stacy, but Zendaya to Emma. Oh man, I don't want to talk about. I don't want to talk about it. Um, but yeah, so Gwen Stacy, fire, second best character. The best character was Peter. Peter by far, bar none, was the best character in this movie. He was so sick. Andrew Garfield's Peter is so good. And like I've seen a bunch of stuff online like, oh yeah, Andrew Garfield is the better Spider-Man, but not the better Peter. I I disagree. I really enjoyed Andrew Garfield's Peter as well because he was flawed. He was a completely flawed character that grew into the Spider-Man that we know, who's still working out the kinks. He couldn't save everybody. He needed help from New York, which I'll talk about in a second. And he was definitely imperfect in the beginning. But now he's growing into the person he is, and he's going to become Peter Parker and Spider-Man. It's not going to be one or the other. It's going to be both. Which, I thought was sick. I really enjoyed Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. And honestly, I feel like this first movie compared to the first movie in like the Sam Raimi trilogy, I can say that I enjoyed Peter more here than I did in the Tobey Maguire one, like as in like the first movie. I really enjoyed him. He was so sick to me, honestly. But yeah, Peter, my favorite character in this movie. I thought he was sick. His quips were funny. His Peter himself was awkward as usual until he started getting more confidence. I thought he was cool. I thought it was really cool. But yeah, now let's talk about the scenes, I guess. I think that's all that's left. Yeah, okay, so let's talk about when Peter starts becoming more like Spider-Man, less of a vigilante. So this happens after the dinner scene, and Peter goes to fight Dr. Connors on the bridge. And he has to make the decision between continue to fight Dr. Connors, who's escaping, or helping a kid who was stuck in a car who's about to fall off the bridge. And he makes the conscious decision to help the kid. But it was so nice because it was so like he was trying his hardest. He was trying his hardest to help the kid, and he was trying to calm him down, giving him his mask so the kid could calm down, helping the kid climb up, telling the kid that you can climb up like because the car was burning and it was gonna fall. Um, Giving the kid to his dad, which really got me tearing up so much. Like seeing the kid and his dad reunite, and the dad being so like so scared, so sad, so happy that he was alive, and then seeing Spider-Man and asking him, "Who are you?" And then Andrew Garfield having the confidence to say, "I'm Spider-Man." Oh man, it had me in tears, yo. Ladies and gentlemen, I cannot stress that enough. I was crying so much. It wasn't as the most I cried watching the Spider-Man movies like ever, because that goes to Spider-Man 2. But man, this was close. This was definitely top 3 for sure. But after that, there's also again the dinner scene before that, really good. I mentioned it before. New York itself helping out Spider-Man, the more and more he gains a reputation for fighting the lizard and helping people out. I definitely enjoyed that. New York was helping out. It wasn't on the spectrum of like Sam Raimi and how they helped out, but they definitely helped out, and it was nice. Honestly, I really enjoyed it. The same guy who his son was saved by Spider-Man, he helped out Peter because he was a construction worker. Which, to some people may seem a little contrived, but I think it's just a coincidence, which is awesome. Which, I mean, I guess that's the whole point. Like, it's contrived so Peter wouldn't have won without it. But at the same time, Peter wouldn't have won without all of his deeds. Like, his deeds were the reason why he won. Which, brings me to the next topic, honestly, which was like Peter himself, um, fighting everybody, like, or fighting Connors. Like, how Connors was beating him most of the time, most of the movie, until Peter got help from New York itself, which to me, was sick, honestly. Like, there was a scene where, actually, there you go. Alright, people find out Peter is Spider-Man way faster than other people do. But the only people that do find out are Gwen and Gwen's dad. But man, do they find out super quick because oh well, no, 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 excuse me. Gwen's dad, and Connors himself. Because Connors had the intuition to read the camera and look at the name. Gwen's dad unmasked Peter. That kid actually just, I mean, he just saw Spider-Man. Like, Peter didn't even try with that one, and Gwen, like, he told her himself, like, Peter did not keep secrets at all in this movie. Which, to me, I think it's fine because at that point it was just like, all right, we already seen the trope before, keeping a secret, blah 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 blah, balancing the life of a superhero and a normal guy. But I like that they kind of like threw that away once it came to the relationship. Like, it didn't matter. Peter trusted Gwen enough to be like, yo, I'm Spider-Man, which I thought was cool. I thought it was really cool. Gwen's dad finding out was a really sick scene because once he ripped off the mask and he saw that it was Peter, it all made sense to him, and Peter was just like, yo, your daughter is in Oscorp Tower. I need to go help her. I need to save the city. Please let me go, Mr. Stacy. Please let me go. And he lets him go. He trusts Peter. And one of the cops shoots him in the leg, and that's why Peter is limping, and New York helps him out. I was just like, yo, that's so sick. That's so sick. So fire. But yeah, after that, I think the last thing to talk about is Oscorp and the final fight. It was great. It was awesome. I really loved the final fight. The fact that people were helping him out, beating Connors, the fact that Gwen Stacy's dad showed up, the fact that Peter was like would have lost. Honestly, he would have lost. He still had to grow into being a superhero, and that was his formative experience. The fact that Dr. Connors' serum, like, they had to evacuate the city. That was one of the biggest, like, mission statements compared to the other people as well, like compared to other villains in Spider-Man's Rose Gallery, like at least in the movie universe. Like Venom, Sandman, and all that. They were for sure like the biggest overall in terms of like the Sam Raimi trilogy. But Dr. Connors in this one is like second in terms of like threat level. He was gonna turn everybody into lizards. It's crazy. He's not the biggest threat because, I mean, Tom Holland's Spider-Man takes that easily. But Kirk Connors, if he wasn't stopped, things would have been terrible. There would have never been an Amazing Spider-Man 2. But I thought like the gas thing, Peter stopping it and all that, it was sick. I thought it was a great ending to the movie. Just Oscorp Tower, that whole sequence, Peter needing help from people and accepting it and like winning overall because of that was awesome. And then at the end, that sad scene, Peter and Gwen, where do you go from here? They patch a relationship, things are fine. And yeah, one thing I can say for sure, like at the end of this movie, is that I really like the theme of Peter always trying no matter what, because it's his responsibility that he took it upon himself to be able to do something because he has the power to do something to stop people from being hurt, because the only reason he's doing this is that his uncle Ben was hurt because Peter didn't do anything to stop the guy from shooting him, even though he could have. So it's like Peter is always trying. He's always like Tobey Maguire said, I'm just trying to do better. And Andrew Garfield is definitely trying to do that because his life definitely isn't easy. But I really appreciate it the fact that they just emphasize that so much, excuse me, that like Andrew Garfield at the end of the day is just trying to do better. And you can apply it to your own life, you know. I always try to do better no matter what. Like as a person, first and foremost, I always just try to be better. Better than myself at least, like not comparing myself to others, but just better than myself. Understanding when I do wrong and understanding when I do good and how it makes other people feel, you know? But that's one thing I can say I learned from Spider-Man, and Andrew Garfield Spider-Man exemplifies that. So I really enjoyed it. And if I had to give this movie a rating, I'll give it a 7.5 on the dot. Oh, not on the dot, but I would give it a 7.5. At its worst, it was a 6, but at its best, it was an 8. I'll definitely say a 7.5 was on its like average. It was a 7.5. At its best, it was definitely an 8 though. I can say that for certain. And I enjoyed it. Now I'm waiting to say whether or not it's amazing, but you know what? Nah. This movie, Peter himself was amazing. Which is why I guess like that corny pun of like he's the amazing Spider-Man. It's true. He really is the amazing Spider-Man. And I enjoy him for it. He may not be your favorite Spider-Man, and honestly, I don't know if he's mine's, but I can definitely say that he's amazing, and that he's trying his best, and that he's human like all of us too. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. But yeah, I think that's gonna be it for me for now. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you all for watching as always. Like and subscribe if you like Gwen Stacy. Just like and subscribe if you like Gwen Stacy. That's really it. And yeah, you know, I'm gonna call it here for now. Hope you guys have a great day. I'll check y'all out. Stay safe. And yeah, peace.